Hey everyone, this is John Craig, and it is time for Walking in Spirit and Truth. I'm so glad that you're joining me today, or if you're picking it up on the archives or on the on-demand section here on the lamnetwork.tv. It is great to have you joining us whenever or wherever you are. It's been a day plus. I think we're getting our full amount of spring rain all together, all in one day. Praise y'all for the rain. And it's nice to have that stuff coming down. I couldn't do any work outside today, but that's okay because this land is desperately needing water. So, well, Life of Worship Ministries, who are we? Well, we are a congregation in Amarillo, Texas, and that's where I am right now. I'm sitting in front of our stage here. And we would love for you to join us whenever we gather, because when we go online, we would love for you to join us online. And we broadcast, if we're not on the lamnetwork.tv, we are also simulcasting over at the Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. So Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. So join us over there on Shabbat. Yeah, we have a time for the Torah portion, and we have a midrash and a discussion with those that are here locally with us and with you that join us online. And so we love having every one of you part of the discussion. We also have our regular services on Shabbat. So we have, which we call our encounter service. So Torah portion is at noon Central. Our encounter service begins at 3 Central on Shabbat. And so we have a time of praise, worship, ministry, and then we have a second part of the encounter service, and that is the message. We usually just start out with a fresh stream with the message, so we kind of jump from one stream to the next stream. But you can follow along with us over at the Life of Worship Ministries channel. So you know what we've been talking about? We've been talking about the Book of the Giants. Like the Book of the Giants, it's actually been rather interesting. You know, as we've been looking at things within the Dead Sea Scrolls and some of the writings that came out and that were discovered in the Qumran caves. And a lot of the information that we find is part of our contemporary understanding of Scripture. And so it takes us back to the beginning. And it takes us back to many of the things that was understood in the culture of that day. And who preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Book of the Giants and all that? Well, it's been thought and given over to that the sectarian group of the Essenes were the ones that preserved it. And who were they? They were the exiled priesthood and their families and anybody else that wanted to join them that left Jerusalem when the power of the priesthood was usurped by the Maccabees and the Hasmonean Empire. And so they took off and said, wait a minute, you guys are like out there and it's wrong and it's corrupt and you're changing the days and the calendar and all of that sort of stuff. And so they said, we don't want to have anything to do with that. And they did. They went out to the wilderness. But out of their writings come all sorts of what has academically been called the apocrypha, pseudo-apocrypha writings. You get a bunch of writings about the community standards and a lot of just very insightful information, as well as a lot of the standards by which, if you're going to live in this community, you're going to have to keep these standards. And so anybody on the outside, like us Americans or Canadians or wherever you're listening from, would look at it and say, wow, they're so super strict. Oh, it's so legalistic and all that. But to them, it was life. To them, it was life. We should never try to view one's way of living, that they are doing everything they can to live out the Scriptures the best they know how, and try to view it through our lenses. I mean, I'm telling you, if there's a lens you don't want to look at in terms of a lot about biblical lifestyle, don't look through the American lens. I'll tell you that. At least not in the 21st century, or at least not in the 2020s. It has been so corrupted, and it's been, it would almost be like a welcome. I think, who was I talking to this about the other day? Maybe it was Sandi. And I was just talking about just Shabbat. And maybe it was Joy, is Jonathan's mother-in-law. And just the very fact that, you have these feast days and you have the Shabbat and you have all these things, and it's so hard to do, here in Western culture because of work demands and all of these different things that put people in just very difficult situations. A lot of it's like, well, we choose to keep Shabbat or we don't choose to keep Shabbat or something like that. But, that's one thing. But a lot of circumstances and situations that people get put in are so far beyond their control that there's like, I'm working this as best I can, but I can't do it completely. And I think that longing that's within every one of our hearts saying, I just want to keep, unleavened bread. Like we're finishing up unleavened bread now. And we're, we just want to live this to its fullest. And yet we have, even in the midst of this week, just all sorts of just demands. I mean, wouldn't it be great that you and I could just jump on a plane and go to Jerusalem and just celebrate like we're supposed to celebrate for unleavened bread? That would just be so awesome. And the day will come. The day will come when we'll be able to do that. But think about all of the different obligations that we have. And I mean, all of my clients, I mean, they're calling me and they're sending me emails and they're messaging me and like, where's my stuff and where's this? And, and it doesn't matter if it's on the weekend or if it's on a Shabbat or if it's on a holy day, a high holy day. They don't care. It's like, we've got to get this done. We're getting calls from the people that we contract with, and we got to get it from you so we can answer that. I mean, it's just, how it is. It's like demand after demand after demand. Can you wait? Can you just not wait for the time that we can just say, it's no longer Bo Yeshua Bo, but it is, oh, Yeshua, you're here and you're resolving and putting everything into place. That's when we're truly going to have shalom, shalom, right? Perfect peace, that peace that surpasses all understanding, guarding our hearts and our minds in Yeshua the Messiah. Boy, all right. I will just have to say, Book of the Giants. Oh, by the way, let me just throw this in real quick. If you haven't had the opportunity and you've been thinking about it, or you've been allowing time to pass and think, I want to support this Life of Worship Ministries because of the content that they're bringing, and because the fellowship, and because of this ministry, and we believe in it, and you would like to be a partner with us financially, we would love for you to go over to our webpage, which is www.lifeofworshipamarillo.com. That's lifeofworshipamarillo.org, not a com, it's an org. And we would love for you to go over there. I'm going to put the website here on the bottom of the screen. And we'd love for you to go over there. There's a button. It's a donate button, and that'll take you to where you can donate online. Or if you choose and say, well, I don't have the means or the ability to do that online, or maybe you're on a cell phone and it's not working the same way as a PC does. I don't know. There's certain quirks every once in a while. But then you say, well, but I can write a check, or I can send cash or something like that. Our mailing address is on the website, and you can just write down that mailing address and put it on an envelope and put your love offering into that envelope and send it our way. If you can, and if you have the ability to do that, we would sure appreciate that, if you partnering with us, and would love for you to be on board with us as well. So I'll just say that and say thank you very much. All right. Book of the Giants. There's so many different things that are packed into it. And so I'm going to, hopefully I'll be able to conclude everything today on the Book of the Giants, but I feel like I'm getting pushed. No, I feel like I'm being directed. I don't know. I'm going to pray this through, that maybe we should be going into looking a little bit more into Enoch, because Enoch is a big character that shows up in the Book of Giants. And so, well, we know about Enoch and the first part of the book of Enoch is the book of the Watchers, and where we get more details about these fallen ones. And yet there's even more that goes in it. It gives us really good insight as to, well, who this Enoch character is. It gives us insight into like these, I mean, I almost call these giants and the monsters that are in the book of the giants that's described, even the fallen angels, the 200 watchers that came down, and their offspring and all that is like, it has this really strong supernatural, bent to it. And that's one of the things I find really interesting, is because it's like and I know I've talked about this before. They have lab-made creations of mixed creatures, mixed genetics. And okay, so before the flood, did they have technology and labs and all that sort of stuff where they were able to do this? Or is it from multiple different kinds of breeding processes and of all different things, did in their breeding processes, because it's just not real natural to breed a bird with a horse, right? And that where we get this that mythological character, some would throw it in that category of the Pegasus, the horse with the bird wings. Well, how in the world can you get the seed of one to mix with the seed of the other when they are of a completely different family? And so I don't know how they did it. And yet, so some of the speculation that's coming out of the book of the giants gives thought that these fallen angels, I mean, they were smart. They understood the sciences. They understood the herbs, the vegetables, every green thing, every living thing, everything that grows. They understood biology of the species, and that they think. I mean, this is a thought process. How in the world do you get a chimera, a crossbreed species between two species? Is that maybe they were able to take their version of pharmaceuticals taken from horticulture and plant life and herbs and that type of thing, and be able to concoct a type of medicine that maybe like the mother, the one that would be growing the baby, would ingest, so that it would not reject the seed, that would not reject the growing. I'll use whatever the growing creature is on the inside. Some people might say fetus, but fetus is typically related to a human being, and I don't like using that word. So whatever that the growing creature is on the inside, you biology people, better than I do. Okay, so I thought, well, maybe there's a little bit of that. We're learning so much about herbal remedies and natural remedies and all these things that y'all provided for us in order to live, and even combat against sickness, illness, and disease that happen because we have really bad technology that's inserted and injected into our foods, and it causes illnesses, right? All right. So in one sense, you can say during the time period of the book of the giants, they were very well advanced. You would also have to say that these watchers had a very high intellect. Not so much the giants, though. According to the book of the giants, they really don't seem that smart. Why? Because in part of what I'm going to talk about tonight is this, where is he? What character? What is that character? Gilgamesh? Is it Gilgamesh? No, it's not Gilgamesh. No, it's one of the giants. And he was warned. We'll get to it. Maui, right? We talked about him before. Maui was warned by Enoch, don't fly too close to the sun. Kind of makes you kind of think about the Greek myth about one of the Greek semigods or whatever that had wings, that was told not to fly too close to the sun because his wings would melt off or something like that. I don't know. I remember it's a long time ago, elementary school mythology, probably 5th grade when I learned about that. It's been a long time ago. don't really study Greek mythology. Sorry, guys. It's just not it's not in my purview. Okay. A lot of other things to study, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. Last time we were talking about, so we did talk about Mawe, and Mawe, no, we didn't talk about, well, we mentioned his name. Yeah, but Mawe is a big character, along with, remember Oya and Haya? You remember we said, you'll remember these names like Oya and Haya. Okay. All right. So you remember those names. You remember when I talked about that? And so they were having these discussions about the dreams, and Mawe's there, and Oya and Haya. They're having a council meeting. It's like a council of the giants and the monsters. And they're like, we're having these visions and dreams, and we don't know what to say about these, but I just wanted to share it with the group. But they're having these dreams, and so I think I talked about a couple of them. So I don't want to go back over that again. All right, so I'm going to move on about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was there. Well, okay, so where in the world does Gilgamesh come in? Because if those of you that are the scholars and the knowledgeable types, then know that Gilgamesh actually comes out of the Persian, what someone should call them the Persian tales, legends, myths. Gilgamesh, who roamed the earth, he conquered many. I remember early when we were beginning to follow our Hebraic roots, and it probably came around the time that we were studying in Bereshit, and we're studying in Genesis chapter 6 and talking about the giants, and they were there before and after the flood, and the name Gilgamesh came up, and some people are actually talking about Gilgamesh being like. And this was a thought process. I didn't really agree with it because I just I didn't know at the time. And learning, we're all learning. But they thought that from Jewish tradition, that Gilgamesh was another name for Noah. And that instead of him being a giant and was this great conqueror, it was that because Noah is like a character within the scriptures that is almost larger than life. Like we would consider Moses. Moses is like larger than life because we study the books of Moses, right? And so Gilgamesh, they thought, well, he seems larger than life. So maybe he's not a giant, but rather he is just a human that is doing these, having these adventures throughout the earth. Well, so this is what Gilgamesh says here in the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Book of the Giants. He says, I am a giant, and by my mighty strength in my arm, I can vanquish anyone mortal. And I read this last time, so I'm doing it again, but because it's short. I have made war with them, that is, talk about the mortals, in the past, but I am not now able to stand against my opponents who reside in heaven and dwell in holy places. And not only this, but they are in fact stronger than I am. And the day of ravening wild beasts has come, and that of the wild man, as I am known. So this is how Gilgamesh is kind of introducing himself here within the Book of the Giants. And he says, look, I am a mighty warrior conqueror. I can destroy every mortal. Not one mortal can beat me. I can stand up against them. Kind of like some of the stories of Nimrod, right? Kind of the stories of Nimrod. And then he says, but wait a minute. But then there's these angels from heaven. They dwell in holy places. They're stronger than me, and I can't beat them. And so then there's a reply. Oya says to Gilgamesh, I have been forced to have a dream. The sleep of my eyes vanished so that I could see a vision. And then he goes on and says, now I know that on the field of battle we cannot win. And then it kind of trails off there. You don't really get that from the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's maybe a reply from Gilgamesh, but so it's like Oyaz almost has this, he's having this conversation with Gilgamesh. He says, you know, you can't defeat these angels from the heavenly places. Well, I had a dream. And in fact, it was so powerful. It became a vision, and that on the field of battle, we cannot win against these angels. So this is kind of an interesting thought there. So moving right along. Now, that's where we left off last time, and moving in to this next part, and this is Oya describing his vision. So he goes on and talking about this vision, and he's talking to Gilgamesh, and I'm picturing in my mind they still have this council together, the monsters, the giants, and all. They've all gathered together. These dreams are pretty important, and I think when you look at it, and the giants and the realm of the earth that they were living in, that it was, they got the word out. We got to come together and talk about these things, because it's been so big. It's huge. It's like rocking our world here, and in a bad way. And so Oya goes on and says, I saw a tree uprooted except for 3 of its roots. While I was, as it were, watching, some beings, maybe these good angels, as it were, I was watching these good beings, or some beings, they moved all the roots into this garden, but not the 3. So a tree is uprooted except for 3 of the roots, and then the all of the roots were moved into this garden except for the 3 roots. And so apparently they remained in the ground. They were lodged or something like that. And so the thought is that the interpretation of this dream is similar to the one that was earlier. But then Gilgamesh speaks up. Gilgamesh, as much of a warrior, conqueror, giant that he was, I don't think he was that well tuned into spiritual things. Just saying. All right. Because why does he say that? Why? Because he says this dream vision concerns the death of our souls, said Oya, and those of Gilgamesh and all his companions. Okay, so here's Oya saying this, but Gilgamesh says, however, Gilgamesh said to me that all the forebodings concerned they only concern the rulers of the earth, the temporal, powerful ones, whom the leader of the good angels has cursed. So he's like, nah, they don't have anything to do with us. It's just those other leaders on the earth. And they've been cursed, right? They've been cursed by the good angels. And so they got to deal with it. And so the next line says, the giants were glad at his words. Then Oya turned and left the assembly. Well, everybody wants to listen to Gilgamesh. When Gilgamesh speaks, everyone listens. All right. So I don't think that's being very, very smart. Just saying. Bad interpretation. Bad giant. Gilgamesh. Okay. So there are more dreams as it relates to which are hostile to the giants, and the dreamers report to the monsters and then to the giants. So all right, so we got another council going on here, and it says after this, two of them had visions. They were unable to sleep. That's a pretty powerful vision. It's not gonna where you can't sleep. I mean, it's just bad. All right. And they came to their comrades and told their dreams to the assembly, their comrades, the monsters. They reported that in their dreams, they seemed to be observing a garden where gardeners were watering 200 trees, and large shoots came up out of the roots. Suddenly, the garden became ablaze, so that the garden was destroyed and all the water evaporated. Then they went to the giants to tell them of their dreams. So we have an idea here. A couple things are going on. These good angels, the gardeners, but perhaps these are good angels, and they're in the garden of 200 trees. 200 trees. Well, remember there were 200 angels that left their heavenly abode and came down on Mount Hermon. And so these angels are watering the 200 trees, and large shoots come out of the roots. And then all of a sudden, the whole garden catches fire. And even all the water, I mean, apparently there was lots of water, and even all the water evaporated. And so it speaks again about the destruction of the giants and the monsters and all that. It's very disconcerting. They don't like that. It's bad news. They want to live forever, right? Everybody wants to live forever. Even the giants want to live forever. Well, there's more. Wait, there's more. So after that, they're pretty upset, and likely, it's you'd think, of course, that that would be the likely response. And so what do? They're like, you know what? We need to know more. We don't really believe Gilgamesh. We don't really think he's leading us down the right path. He's a big guy, can beat a lot of people up, but you know what? I don't think he's got all the smarts. Right? I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. All right. Nevertheless, so we do have that little bit of a thought process. They want Enoch. Enoch, where are you when we need you? Why would they want Enoch? But we know. I mean, what do we know about what's the Genesis part about Enoch? It says that it says that he's like the grandfather of Noah. It says that he walked with God and was not, and we know that he was a righteous man, and this lineage that he held, out of it comes Noah, and out of from that we get Shem and Japheth, and you get Ham too, but Ham's kind of a loser. Did I say yeah? Why? Because you don't do that to your dad, all right? Just don't do that to your dad. And you're supposed to go in the area of the world where you're supposed to go, geographically speaking. Don't go in a place that you're not supposed to go. But Ham was kind of like he was a mess. Third child, All right. Okay, back to Enoch. Good guy. So they go and they have this discussion, and they said, let us seek out Enoch, the noted scribe. The noted scribe. Well, think about that. Within the Tanakh, what do we find out about the scribes? That the scribes are, it seems like, I can't think of a time when I see a scribe that is not of the priestly class. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that it seems like whenever I see scribes, I see of the priestly class. And so think about Enoch in that priestly class, which I think he was. I think Noah would be considered in the priestly class. I mean, how do we know that Noah was? Because when the ark hit dry ground and it was time to get out, and what was the first thing he did? He built an altar, and he gave an offering to Yah. So Enoch is, I think, is of the same thing, and he's a noted scribe, and I also think about Ezra. Remember, we were going through 4 Ezra, and so Ezra was a scribe. We see that in our regular Tanakh, and because 4 Ezra is not in most people's Bibles, but Ezra is, and so we know that Ezra is a scribe. And he's also a contemporary of Nehemiah, because he's been assigned to rebuilding the temple, and Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. And by Ezra's own writing, he says that I am a descendant of Zadok. So he's of the priestly class. So Enoch, the noted scribe, and he will interpret for us the dream. Okay. Thereupon, Oyah declared to the giants, I too, this night, had another dream. Oyah is a dreamer. Do you ever know anybody that's just, they're always telling you, I had this dream. Oh, I got to share this dream with you. I'm happy to remember a dream. So I think it has to do with diet. Need lots of fish oil. Fish oil, vitamin E, those help you have dreams. Just saying. All right. Maybe he had a lot of fish oil. Okay, that's really going too far. I too this night had another dream, and behold, the ruler of heaven came down to the earth and made an end of us. Such is the ending of my dream. So it's a one-liner. Probably is a lot bigger in the dream. I mean, because honestly, they say that dreams only last maybe 1 or 2 minutes, sometimes even less, but it feels like a lifetime. It's like a lot of events take place in that short amount of time, and it's at real time. It's like it's not like zip, 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 and it's over, but you get a whole picture of everything, like in a movie, watching a whole movie in 2 minutes. But when you're in the dream, it's real time. It's like in real movement, real speaking. It's not sped up. It's not 1.5 times speed, 2 times speed, or whatever. It's real time, but in reality, it's just a minute or two. And so he just summarizes his whole dream as, I too, this night had another dream, and behold, the ruler of heaven came down to earth and made an end of us. Such is the ending of my dream. Upon hearing this, all the monster and giants grew afraid and called Maweh, the Titan, Maweh the Titan. And then it's like, that sounds kind of Greek to me. All right, so Maweh the Titan. He came to meet the giants and pleaded with him and sent him to Enoch the scribe. So it's like, dude, somehow Maweh must have a relationship with Enoch. You know, they got an understanding. I won't eat you. You won't curse me. I don't know. I think it just says they know that Enoch's really good guy. So, and they can't touch him. He's got an anointing on him. He's got that mark. He probably has that Jeremiah mark on him, you know, where the angels come down and they mark everyone that's moaning and lamenting over the condition of Jerusalem. And I bet he's marked like that. And that's not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm just conjecturing. But going on, it says he came to meet the giants who pleaded with him and sent him to Enoch the scribe. They, the giants, said to him, go to Enoch so that he may speak to you and then return saying, you have heard his voice. I mean, come back, tell us what he said, but you got to go tell him. Oh, Yah spoke to Maweh and said to him, maybe he pulls him aside. Come on, please, Maweh. He says, Enoch will listen and interpret the dreams and tell us how long we giants have to live and rule the earth. We got to know because these dreams are bad, right? So Maweh, what's he do? He gets ready. He takes this journey to go see Maweh goes to see Enoch and to speak. He's on a quest now. This is my quest. The dream, the impossible dream. No, okay, sorry. It's probably not the same, but it's a quest. It's really a quest about a dream, about many dreams. They got to hear from Enoch. Maweh mounted up in the air as if upon strong winds, using his hands like eagle's wings. That guy must have had mitts on him that were huge. So he's flapping his hands and flying. I mean, that's weird. It's weird, but going on, it says, he left behind the inhabited world and passed over the great desert of desolation. Enoch saw him and hailed him. Hey, Maweh. And Maweh told Enoch of his mission and said to him that he would speak with him. So flying here and there, Enoch came a second time to Maweh after Enoch had warned Maweh about flying too near the sun. So, well, it's kind of weird. Flying here and there, Enoch came a second time to Maweh. Hey, Maweh! Yeah, dude, you're not flying well, because he's kind of going from here to there. That's what it says. Then it says, Maweh spoke to Enoch and said to the giants, and Maweh spoke to Enoch and said that the giants and all the monsters of the earth await his words. Come on. You got to help us out here. If the fall of the giants and the wicked angels has been carried out by divine providence from their days of heavenly glory, can you at least assure us that the number of our days spent doing harm will be added to our lives? We wish to know the meaning of the 200 trees that came down from heaven. Please tell us. We got We need more. We need more. Enoch, having received Mawe's request, so he's like, okay, dude, you just go wait over there. I'm gonna go over here by this tree and give me some time. So anyway, Enoch, it says Enoch tried to intercede with Yah, but then it says that but his prayers did not work. I hate using that. His prayers did not avail. In other words, Yah was not going to hear it. Yah was not going to hear one word from Enoch about preserving the giants and the fallen ones and all of that. So accordingly, he presented Mawe with a tablet which was full of foreboding about the coming judgment, but which offered some hope for the future via repentance. So he's like, okay, dude, it's not good. Yeah, I talked to the Most High, and he says it's too late. Y'all been very naughty. You've been very bad, and so I'm going to put it on this tablet and record it. You take it back, and you can message this and give this to the assembly. And so from there, it says the scribe Enoch gave Mawe a copy of another tablet. So remember, it's not that like the first dream we talked about last time, which was doused in water and only 3 names were left. But this one is in Enoch's own handwriting. And the writing on the tablet said, "In the name of the great and holy Yah, this message is sent to Shemihaza and all his companions." Now remember who Shemihaza is? He is the father of Oyah and his brother. What's his brother's name? Haya and Oyah. Okay, Shemihaza. So that so he sent it to Shemihaza and all his companions. Let it be known to you, that is, like the giants and the monsters, that you will not escape judgment for all the things that you've done, and that your wives, their sons, and the wives of their sons will not escape, and that by your licentiousness on the earth there has been visited upon you a heavenly judgment. The land is crying out and complaining about you and the deeds of your children and about the harm you have done to it. I have this picture pulling out the scroll. Hear ye, going on, until the heavenly angel Raphael arrives. Behold, destruction is coming by a great flood, which will destroy all living things, whatever is in the deserts and the seas. The meaning of the dreams, by the way of a judgment for all your evil. But if you now loosen the bonds binding you to evil and pray, and then it's the scrolls they deteriorated, and we don't have the rest of it. So there's a thought that maybe if you now loosen the bonds binding you to evil and pray for forgiveness, maybe you might be saved. You may be saved. And I don't know. There's no hope. I think Enoch probably told him the truth. So whoever filled in those extra words on that, I don't really think. I think that's really Western 21st century thinking. Oh, Yah loves everyone, gives grace to everybody, and if you just do the right thing and you just turn around and be good enough and just start being good now, then you're going to have mercy. No. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Now Raphael, it mentions Raphael, and that hasn't been any of our story at this point in time. So Raphael, we talked about Raphael over in I think in 4 Ezra, right? Or if you're reading out of the King James version with the Apocrypha, and it's 2 Esdras. Raphael is an angel, is an archangel sent by Yah to fight against evil, especially Azazel. Remember Azazel? Azazel was like the first one. Kind of came down and scoped things out. That dude is not good. They even named a goat after him every Yom Kippur. I mean, that's not a good guy. Azazel came down, and why do they send the Azazel goat into the wilderness? Because that's where Azazel roams. He roams in the wilderness. Look out for Azazel. Yeah, that's creepy. All right, so going on, it says, talking about Enoch, it seems like out of what this writing on the tablet, that he saw a vision at some point in time, and he's also relating it this way. And the Book of Giants relates it this way. It says, "A great fear seized me, and I fell on my face. I heard his voice." I think he's, you know, some say, well, did he hear Raphael's voice or did he hear Yah's voice? We don't know, because there's a gap. I heard his voice. I think it was Yah, because when you hear the voice of Yah, you're going to tremble. And it says, "A great fear seized me, and I fell on my face." And then it continues about he, Enoch, dwelt among human beings, but he did not learn from them or rely on them. So that's also very important, I think, for us to understand. Enoch's relationship was not that he was completely like a monk and so segregated from the world that he was, disconnected. He wasn't that. I don't think Enoch was that sequestered, but I think he was very, very careful about who he interacted with, because of this level of being set apart, holy, righteous, that he wanted to maintain that level, so he could always be in the presence of Yah. I just think that's amazing, that Enoch walked with Yah. Adam walked with Yah. Enoch walked with Yah, and that's after Adam fell. So there's an amazing level that I really think that we can say, well, we have the Yeshua piece. Now let's look a little bit further. Our relationship with Yeshua comes to set us free and redeem us from this curse. And it gives us additional tools in our tool belt by where we can have that walking, living relationship. So you think, wow, Enoch was there. I think that's an inspiration, don't you? I think that's really an inspiration. Going on, it says, it seems possible that Enoch was talking about the occasion when an angel came down to earth to summon him to heaven. Maybe some of these things are so amazing to me, to think that Enoch, being lifted up out of this earth and taken into the heavenly realm to be one of the witnesses, perhaps, never seeing death as a human being until a later time, perhaps, if he's one of those witnesses, and that lays there in the streets of Jerusalem. And yet we see in the book of Revelation, we see book of Daniel, we see in Ezekiel, we see others that have these amazing encounters. So whether it's, Paul talks about whether I was in the body or out of the body, I don't know. But Enoch, and that's why we need to go look at the book of Enoch and get more details on it, because this walk that he had gives a lot of insight. And the book of Enoch was one of those inspirational books that even in the Qumran community that they revered. So like the book of Jubilees, even though it's not like in a regular canon, it's like it's mentioned. Even Jude talks about Enoch. So, and Yeshua talks about, these things, and the book of Jubilees and all of that. So there's these references within the Brit Hadashah going back to these. I think it's significant. And then this fragmentary book of the Giants from the Dead Sea Scroll ends up with this, and with these words of Enoch, that he dwelt among human beings, but he did not learn from or rely on them. So the book of Enoch, there's these relevant passages. They're especially in the section of the Watchers. So it'll even fill in more of the story for us. It's kind of like we started reading the book in the middle, because I think the book of the Giants was considered one of the literary works among the Qumran people and the community of the Yachad. And it was a book that they found multiple copies of. So it was enough to say it was worth replicating. They can date the writing of these, actually putting it in writing, back to the Second Temple period. And yet the academics believe that the story of all this predates the Second Temple period, the First Temple period, and all the way back before Abraham to the time of Noah and Enoch. So so that Noah would have taken these stories, would have told his kids, Shem would have known, and would have passed this down to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and then of course eventually to his 12 sons and Moses and all of that. And but eventually these things are written down for us. But here's the central themes, and it connects us with the Book of Giants to the Book of Enoch, and where we're told about the corrupting influence of the fallen angels, giving humanity, especially females, the forbidden arcane knowledge. You think about, why did they do that? Because it specifically speaks about men got some of this forbidden arcane knowledge as well, but in Enoch and even the Book of Giants, it's speaking that the females got this. So was this an exchange? Perhaps maybe it was an exchange because it's like the angels are saying, look, I want you to breed offspring for me, and maybe the females, the women, human women, are saying, well, that's a huge order, because it's not human and this could be bad and I might even die. So what do I get in exchange for bearing a child for you? And maybe it was this forbidden knowledge, maybe this arcane knowledge, these and this is where we add to the different stories, which a lot of times we think about Nimrod and the Babylonian religious system, that which Abraham grew up under, and his father having a temple and idols, that Abraham went in and destroyed all the idols. Of course, what is that other book that's in there? Okay. But he goes in and destroys those books. He destroys the idols. There's, in other words, these mystery religions were somehow, I think, started before the flood and then somehow continued after the flood. But if we draw a correlation between, remember we're talking about these giants being, even having these monsters, supernatural, then the spirits, or these, like the demonic spirits, the demons, the evil spirits that are always looking for a body that could somehow survive and then bring that forbidden knowledge and arcane information through the flood to the other side and find a body to inhabit. It seems like out of the descendants of Ham, I mean, there are certainly volunteers to carry that knowledge. So many of the women were made pregnant. Of course, that's kind of these connections between the two. And it says the story of the giants is easier to follow in the Book of Enoch than these very fragmented Dead Sea Scroll versions of it. So, but it's like the Book of the Giants kind of fits into that narrative. So we're going to be interesting to look into that a little more. Would y'all want us to do that? Would y'all like to do that and go into the Book of Enoch and maybe pull out a lot of these things? Probably can't spend as much time chapter per chapter like we did on Ezra, because we barely could sometimes get through a whole chapter before time ran out. But maybe we do sections at a time. All right. So I see your thumbs up. Oh, by the way, give me a thumbs up. Give us, if you like what's going on, give us a thumbs up over at Life of Worship. Appreciate that. All right. So like, share, subscribe. I know a lot of you like, well, we already did. Well, okay. Well, share this episode as well as the other ones. Maybe other people will be interested in it. So 200 trees representing 200 watchers, angels who betrayed their trust, the telling of their trunks signify, what was that about? The destruction, what would it say about that? The felling of the trunks. Yeah, all those trees fell down. Signifies the coming destruction of the 200 watchers by fire and flood. So there's other versions, by the way, of the Book of the Giants. Did you know there's other versions? There's the Dead Sea Scroll, and that's really what we rely upon because it is the most, I would say, the most reliable, and that's where you have more of the multiple copies. But there's some other versions like the Manichaean version. We Americans would say Manichaean version, the Manichaean version, Book of the Giants, and so that's one version. There's another version that's called the Manny version. So that one has a more bent towards our pre-first century, some would say pre-first century Christianity, because there's a lot of themes that carry right into the first century believers which we talk about, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the community and all that sort of stuff. But it's written in the Aramaic. The Mani version is. This other version, the Manichaean version, was written in several languages like Middle Persian and Coptic, which makes you think, because some of the community of the Essenes, they fled Israel. They fled Jerusalem in that area, and instead of going to the wilderness with one group, they went to Egypt, and they took scrolls with them over to the Alexandria libraries and stuff. So there are connections that on both different sides. However, the ones that were Coptic, over there in Egypt, it said a lot of them practiced the dark arts. So you really have to kind of wade through, when you say Essenes, you can't just brush a wide stroke. That's why what we try to do here at Life of Worship is just to go in and say, okay, what is the most relevant? What seems to make the most sense? And then as we kind of wade through the stuff that seems that's a little bit far out that way, we can maybe hone in to see what the central themes are that kind of give us more insight to the scriptures and understanding of our heritage. And yeah, time is running out. Can you believe it? Oh, that's so sad. Well, that pretty much covers everything. I just wanted to let you know there is more to the story. There's other insights to it that are out there, but I gave you kind of a rundown of it, and I think with that rundown, it makes us. Doesn't it like whet your appetite? It does mine. I want to know more, and it's not because I'm like one of those giant junkies, Genesis 6 junkies and all of that sort of stuff. I want to know more about, it tells us who we are, who our roots are, who are these people in the Qumran community that's trying to give us this message. So just a thought. So thank you for sharing, subscribing, and all that fun stuff. Sure love you all. And thank you for being part of my kind of eclectic, weird, eccentric thoughts tonight. I don't know. Hope it's been entertaining as well as knowledgeable for you. Love you. And until next time, Shalom.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.